can I introduce our next speaker? Well, I'll try to be, I'm going to say I'm going to try to be as unembarrassing as possible, but no, I will embarrass her, so be prepared. Our next speaker, by externally, she could be my mother, but actually she's like a daughter, and at the same time she's so vastly senior to me. And she's like daughter because although she's externally like mother, internally her mood is always so youthful and young and sweet and playful. And while she has so many beautiful realizations about Srila Gurudeva and Srila Prabhupada, and she's so loyal, like Sripad Madhav Maharaj was talking about loyalty. I can't think of anyone more loyal to Srila Prabhupada than this next speaker. While she is so totally immersed in the tattva, at the same time, her mood really imbibes, embodies everything about the goal that Madhukar was talking about Radha Dasya, that sweet, youthful, innocent, beautiful, playful mood. So I'm very excited to introduce our next speaker, who will take us up to 5 minutes to 2, and that is Yasasvini Didi. Haribol Yasasvini, welcome. And you need to unmute yourself.
Okay.
Haribol, Dandavat.
There now. Hare Krishna, Dandavat. Thank you for the introduction. Actually, I feel so fallen at the moment. I think this is a very amazing year, probably for all devotees. I feel like the energies of the planet are pushing us all forward and giving very deep realizations. And I can say for myself that I'm seeing things about my own conditioning that I haven't seen or understood. Perhaps I've seen, but I haven't understood exactly the blocks it's made in my bhakti and how to deal with that and go forward. So this is actually a very amazing time for all devotees. I think this lockdown business around the world has been very helpful for many devotees. And yes, so I'm feeling very fallen, but I'm so deeply grateful actually to all the Vaishnavas and our gurus. So first of all, I just offer my respectful obeisances to Srila Prabhupada and to Srila Narayana Maharaj and to Bhaktivedanta Rama Maharaj, and to all our Rupanuga Guruvag, to Madhava Maharaj, if he's still there, and Rajanath Prabhu, and all the wonderful Vaishnavas. I'm so deeply grateful. So, yeah, I feel like if we look at Srila Prabhupada, when Srila Prabhupada came initially to the West, he actually traveled up and down on the, I don't know what they call it in America, but the tube, the trains, and he watched the people to understand what modes of nature they were in and how they were entangled in the material modes of nature, and he worked out a strategy to preach to them. So this was Prabhupada's expertise. He was specially chosen actually to come and present Krishna consciousness in that way, and in such a way he brought people from all around the world and all levels and all types of people, and this was his mission. And so he presented it in a certain way, and in his books he actually did give everything, but he gave some of it. He actually said Bhagavad Gita, then Srimad Bhagavatam, and he said Chaitanya Charitamrita is the postgraduate study. So as we progress as older devotees, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it actually explains all the things that Srila Gurudeva explained, Srila Narayana Maharaj, and in detail in Prabhupada's purport. It's all there. But as Rajanath Prabhu was making the point, I can only say for myself and probably many others, how deeply I understood that. That is another thing. So this is actually where, for myself, I find Srila Prabhupada and Srila Narayana Maharaj, they're like the divine couple as far as the gurus go. Because Srila Narayana Maharaj, he made this wonderful example he was talking about a mountain, and he said Srila Prabhupada was like the mountain. And he said, if you look up a mountain, you can see how tall a mountain is. So he said that Srila Prabhupada making schools and farms and temples all around the world and doing so many amazing things, books, this was actually the height of the mountain. But then he said, if you're standing at the side of a mountain, you can't see the depth of the mountain. It may go this far back, it may go that far back. So there's a depth inside. So this is what Srila Narayana was explaining very deeply, the depth, the understandings of the moods and the bhavs in our Srila Prabhupada's heart. And this, of course, is completely to do with our Siddhanta, because he explained also about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's 3 internal reasons and how important that is for us to understand. And another thing that he explained, which was a real eye-opener for me, and is also in Srila Prabhupada's Chaitanya Charitamrita, is that with Vaidhi Bhakti alone, you can't actually go to Vraj. You can only go to Vaikuntha. If you perfect Vaidhi Bhakti, you end up in Vaikuntha, which of course is not our goal. Our goal is Vraj, and Prabhupada made that quite clear. So also when Srila Prabhupada came in the 60s, and to some degree it was still there when I joined, we used to chant the Hare Krishna mantra on the streets for hours and hours and hours. And it was very, very wonderful. And this is so important because there's one story when Srila Prabhupada, he was going somewhere with the devotees in a car, and it was sort of in this direction, and Prabhupada said, no, go around that direction. And they said, but Prabhupada, the program's in this direction. And Prabhupada said, yes, but if you go around this way, we don't have to pass the law courts. And he said, the law courts, there are so many lies told in the law courts that energy lands on our heads just as we drive past it. So Srila Narayana also made the same point in, what was it called, The Secrets of the Bhagavatam. And he made the point that every single bit of sound vibration, good or bad, it goes up into the ether as far as it can go, and then it comes down and it lands on the heads of everyone. So all the bad vibrations in the world, at the moment, there's so much fear, so much confusion, so much fighting, going up and coming down, that when we chant Harinam on the streets, even when we chant Harinam in our houses, we speak Harikatha, we share transcendental sound vibration. This is all going up into the ether and coming down and landing on people's heads. So this is actually really, really important for us to understand how this transcendental sound vibration works. And it's saying, I think it's on the back of the Gopi Gita book, is explaining how the greatest donor in the world is the one who gives Harikatha. So this is like, if you think about a radio and you tune in to different stations, as you turn it, it tunes into different vibrational levels, and therefore you can catch on to a certain station at a certain level. So in the same way, when we chant Hare Krishna, we speak Harikatha, and we share these things, and we do transcendental activities, we're actually tuning into a certain vibrational level that can connect us to spiritual consciousness. So this is what we're trying to help other people to understand. And at the moment, it's really, really, really important, because the whole world is a big mess and getting messier at the moment, and a lot of lies being told. And so this is actually so important now for us to do this. And I think Bhanjanath Prabhu also made some very nice points about harmony. And sorry, I was thinking about this a lot. This has actually given me a lot of pain in my heart for many, many years, that Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually spoke about non-sectarianism. And one of the reasons I actually joined this movement was because Srila Prabhupada said we were non-sectarian. We were not Hindus, Christians, and Muslims. We're not black or white. We're not fat or thin. We're spiritual souls. And we all have the same God, one God. So why to argue was my question as I grew up. If one God really exists, why so many religions arguing over him and killing each other or whatever. So this was a big thing for me, this non-sectarianism. And I saw actually that as I went through institutions, that in all institutions, there are absolutely wonderful devotees. And in all institutions, there are people who criticize. And in all institutions, there are fanatics. And so there is something there that needs to be understood as we progress. And I remember Bhakti-Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj explaining, somebody asked him that, oh, they say only in our temple or our institution, the truth can be found. And he laughed and he said, oh, all institutions use that trick. It protects the younger devotees. So it's a fact that as younger devotees, we do need protecting. But as older devotees, it is so important to understand that we have to broaden and we have to be able to understand there are more pure devotees than one. It doesn't mean we have any less love for our pure devotee that we've surrendered to, but we can respect and appreciate other pure devotees. And I remember the first time after I'd met Srila Narayana Maharaj, and I went to Birmingham, and I think it was one of the first programs I went to, and it was, I think it was a Guru Purnima, where they were respecting all the different gurus. And it was the first time I went into the room, and there were all these devotees there, and they were all speaking beautiful things about Guru Parampara and the Guru and Vaishnava Sangha and you know, Vyasadeva and like that. And I remember when they started to speak, I was amazed because I had never seen anything like this before. There were devotees there from Srila Prabhupada, glorifying everyone. There were devotees there from Srila Narayana Maharaj, glorifying everyone. There were devotees there from Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj, glorifying everyone. There were devotees there from Bhakti Vallabh Tirth Maharaj, glorifying everyone. And there were so many different gurus, and they were all happily together, glorifying Vaishnavas and gurus. And I just thought it was so amazing. But then one thing happened, and I'm telling this story, which is very embarrassing, but I think it's something that I see myself is something really important to learn, because someone spoke there, as each person spoke, they introduced, or I'm a disciple of, or I've taken shelter of, and then they would speak. So one of the last persons to speak said, oh, I'm taking shelter of a disciple of Bhakti-Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. And at that time, I had actually heard things against Bhakti-Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, which in my innocence, I had believed. And so my immediate thought when I heard them say that was like, oh, what are they doing here? And then when they spoke, I was so amazed. I just thought, oh my God, what a mistake. You know what I mean? I've really misunderstood, and I felt so bad. But this happens all the time. And I think it's so important in any institution to understand that, yes, we do protect devotees initially, but as time goes on, we have to understand that we broaden in that way. Because this has brought so much heartache to me, actually, because I adore my Srila Prabhupada, and I actually love his mission and want his mission to be successful. And I've also met so many wonderful friends and supportive devotees who have given me kindness and shelter and knowledge within Srila Narayana Maharaj's movement. And it just is heartbreaking to me that the two can't understand each other. This has given me a lot of pain over many years. And I think that the whole world is undergoing change. And I may be wrong, I don't know, but I hope, and I think I'm seeing the beginnings of some change happening amongst Vaishnava institutions, that there may gradually be a greater understanding where still remaining chaste to our Guru and our Sangha, but we can open our hearts and love other devotees also from other sections. And one really important thing that I see that Srila Narayana Maharaj taught me is to learn, not just me, taught us all, how to reconcile the seeming differences amongst pure devotees. Because pure devotees are individuals, They're pure devotees because at every second, unmotivated and unbroken, they're serving the Lord, but they're still individuals. And they may stress one thing more than another, or even have slightly different opinions sometimes, and that's okay. You know, and one thing Srila Prabhupada said in one purport in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, when I was checking, I don't remember which one, but I can find out if anybody wants to know. Srila Prabhupada made the point that if you follow, he didn't say if you follow the pure devotee, he said if you follow your pure devotee, then you will actually make advancement and, you know, become fully Krishna conscious. So this is a really important point, that if we see that somebody's pure devotee have a slightly different detail than our pure devotee, it doesn't mean that one's wrong and one's right. Actually, they're both correct. And Prabhupada making this point, if you follow your pure devotee, because what is going to get us back to the spiritual world? Is it the actual detail? Or is it the fact that we are surrendering our independent will to the will of the servant of the Lord? Because this is what we need. We need a different mentality when we arrive there. We need to be able to be surrendered, and we need to be able to be harmonious, and we need to do so many things in this way. So this is actually, Srila Prabhupada said that, might be in the beginning of Bhagavatam, I think. He said that, or it could be Bhagavad Gita, anyway, he said that this teaching is not for armchair speculators, because it's so, especially for people who are very clever, sometimes they just love to sit and discuss the knowledge and go back and forth. But Prabhupada said this is not for armchair speculators. He said it's for character development. You know, so these are really, really important points. And yeah, besides that, other reasons that I joined this movement, two other reasons actually. One was because they actually went onto the streets and spread it to other people. And the other was that I'd been brought up quite strongly with God, actually. I had a strong faith and connection. But Srila Prabhupada introduced a God I could do things for. I could make a garland, I could sing for him, I could buy a fruit and give it to him, and he would reciprocate. And so many things we can do like that. We can bathe the Lord, dress the Lord, so many things. So this was very wonderful. And then, of course, I, engaged in all those things. But then Srila Narayana Maharaj, he also explained the difference between Archan and Bhajan, which is very, very important also, because we can be so sincere and doing our Archan, worshipping the deities. I'm so-and-so Dasi here in the temple or wherever I am, offering to the Lord. But in order to progress to a deeper level, we do have to gradually, and even Srila Prabhupada said this, I remember, we have to progress to include that at some time we will have a different body. We're not this body. And we do have an identity. We have a spiritual body, and we're going to go to a spiritual planet. So we have to become conscious of that when we're doing it, not just over here. And Srila Prabhupada one time, he said how consciousness expands. First, we're conscious as a baby, just really, we don't even know there's a difference between ourselves and our mother. And then actually we see the other members of the family. We don't understand who they are, but we see there are different people than ourselves. Then we have friends, and then we have extended family, and then we have community, and we might become a nationalist for the whole country. And some people want to save the world in different ways, save something in the world, the whale or whatever. But then Prabhupada said, that's expanding the consciousness further and further, but we have to expand it and include the spiritual world. So in every single thing, we actually want to be conscious that we have another identity and there's a spiritual world. And in this world, it's called an Udipan, which most people know, I'm sure. It's connecting these things in this world so that we can always remain conscious. And I remember...
Need to bring it to a close, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll just say this last thing and then... I remember one time that I wrote to Srila Gurudeva, and I was telling him how I was at the time delivering leaflets because I was trying to make some extra money. And I was remembering that Srila Narayana Maharaj had explained how the Manjaris and the Sakhis, they passed messages for Radha and Krishna. So I was thinking, I'm passing messages through the doors for the estate agent. One day I'll be passing messages for Radha and Krishna. And then I saw this beautiful glass door, the front door, and it had a peacock. So I was remembering how, Radhakunda and Shyamakunda, the eyes of the peacock on Govardhan is in this shape. And then I took Krishna Kripa roller skating, and I saw the girls and the boys, and they were all sort of, the boys were skating by, and the girls were looking the other way. And I was saying, wow, the perverted reflection, it's actually all the same, those wonderful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. So every single thing I wrote to him, and I was telling him, and he wrote back and he said, yes, you were very fortunate, so many Udi pens. So in this way, we have to connect everything, and we can connect everything. And so I just want to say that I am so grateful, actually, to Srila Prabhupada and Srila Narayana Maharaj. And I just really pray from the bottom of my heart that in the future, I don't know whether the institutions will be able to respect and work together, or whether there'll be many people from each institution or all institutions that join together because they have that open heart, or whether it will be small groups like Bhaktivinoda Thakur said about Namahatha. But I just really pray for myself and for all Vaishnavas everywhere that we can learn to open our hearts, to love Vaishnavas, and to respect and honor all these amazing gurus who are all working like flowers in a garland that completely cannot be separated, and are just giving more and more nectar for our hearts to open. So with that, my time is up. And thank you for listening to me. And I just offer my respectful obeisances at all of your feet. And thank you for your association. Jai Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudeva Ki Jai.
I could honestly, I could feel the crackling of your heart throughout Zoom. Actually, your heart was crackling my heart. I could feel, I mean, we've had many conversations about this subject of harmony and reconciliation. And I know this is not a theoretical thing for you. You've lived through this disharmony, and you've been searching for the harmony between the missions. And it's something that lives and grows inside of you. So I could feel that. I think we could all feel that quite tearfully, actually. And your aspiration is certainly my aspiration. I'm sure it's everybody's aspiration on this Zoom call for that harmony between the Sanghas. It's very beautiful. And that's really what's going to please Parampara, that all Vaishnavas can come together. Which reminds me, and I think it was Sundar Gopal that sent me an excerpt from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who stated that anybody who considers that Mahaprabhu is a great personality, even God himself, just a great personality, is a member of our club. This is an incredibly broad vision. And you think of the kind of things that we end up arguing about, and you think of that, the broadness of that vision, and it's really humbling, very beautiful. It seems to be a theme that's running through our festival today,